Hello everyone and welcome to my The Young and the Restless official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, March 6th reveal that Diane Jenkins Abbott will fight hard for Jack Abbott's return home, while Phyllis Summers' attempt to repair things with Daniel Romalotti Jr. hits another snag. Phyllis assured Kane Ashby that if he could get Daniel to forgive her, then she'd go along with his scheme. Kane suggested they could give Chancellor back to Victor Newman as part 1 of a deal and claim they'll give the rest of Newman Enterprises back after his family's safe. Of course, Kane also told Phyllis they would go back on the deal in the end, but none of this will go according to plan. Victor has already set another plot in motion since he's kidnapped Jack, so that decision will continue to cause drama. Jack is trapped on a yacht that's surrounded by water, so he'll be in total spin-out mode on Friday's show. Once Jack thinks about his predicament and who would have put him in this situation, he may quickly assume Victor is responsible. As for Diane, she'll fear for Jack's life and argue that something drastic has to be done ASAP. Billy Abbott will think Nicky Newman might be able to help, but Diane will be adamant that he needed to give up Chancellor. There's an issue with that plan too, since Phyllis hasn't officially signed Chancellor over to Billy yet. Billy may ultimately admit that news to Diane and Kyle Abbott, so they may worry Phyllis won't be willing to help. In the meantime, Y&R spoilers suggest Phyllis will meet up with Daniel again and hear his next ultimatum. Daniel may admit he's leaning toward forgiveness, but only if Phyllis is truly willing to walk away from the Newman Empire. Kane acted like Phyllis was unhappy and pushed Daniel to reach this agreement with her, but that's not what Phyllis had in mind. Phyllis wants to have a good relationship with her kids and maintain the power she's acquired, but Daniel may insist she has to choose what's most important. Finally, Holden Novak will reconvene with Order Charles and give her another opportunity to be his sabotage partner. Since Holden thinks their goals align when it comes to tearing Kyle and Claire Newman apart permanently, Holden will push Order to join forces with him. The Young and the Restless spoilers say several Genoa City residents will be stirring up trouble, so stay tuned. In Genoa City, the calm never lasts for long. Beneath the polished surface of wealth, family, loyalty, and powerful empires, emotions are constantly simmering, sometimes quietly and sometimes ready to explode. And as Friday, March 6th unfolds on The Young and the Restless, the lives of several familiar faces are about to collide in ways that could change everything. A dangerous game begins. Far from the bustling streets of Genoa City, a chilling scene unfolds on open water. A lone yacht drifts quietly, surrounded by endless waves. The sky stretches wide above it, but the freedom of the ocean is nothing more than an illusion for the man trapped inside. That man is Jack Abbott. Confined and isolated, Jack begins to process the terrifying reality of his situation. The walls of the yacht suddenly feel smaller, the air heavier. The silence presses in around him as he tries to understand how he ended up here. And then the realization begins to creep into his mind. Who would do something like this? Who would have the power, the resources, and the motive? For Jack, the answer forms almost instantly. Victor Newman. The long, bitter rivalry between these two men has fueled some of Genoa City's most explosive conflicts. And now, as Jack stares out over the dark, endless water, the possibility becomes terrifyingly real. Victor may have taken their war to a shocking new level, because while Jack sits trapped on that yacht, Victor has already set another dangerous plot in motion. And once the truth surfaces, the fallout will shake everyone involved. Diane's growing fear. Back in Genoa City, something feels terribly wrong. Diane Jenkins Abbott can feel it deep in her bones. Jack is missing, and every passing minute makes her fear the worst. The uncertainty gnaws at her heart as panic begins to replace hope. Diane knows Jack better than almost anyone. If something has happened to him, if he's in danger, then time is slipping away. Her desperation pushes her to demand immediate action. Something drastic has to be done, and it has to happen now. Standing beside her is Billy Abbott, who begins turning over possible solutions in his mind. There may still be someone who can help them reach the man responsible for all of this. Billy suggests they might need to turn to Nicky Newman. If anyone could influence Victor, it might be Nicky. But Diane isn't convinced that waiting for persuasion or negotiation will save Jack. Her focus shifts to something far more concrete and far more dangerous. She insists that Billy needs to give up Chancellor. To Diane, sacrificing the company could be the only way to force Victor's hand and bring Jack home alive. The stakes are suddenly crystal clear. Power, money, and pride mean nothing compared to Jack's life. But Billy hesitates. Because there's one enormous complication. The deal everyone assumed was settled isn't actually complete. A truth that changes everything. With tension thick in the room, Billy finally reveals the truth to Diane and to Kyle Abbott. Despite all the discussions and plans, Phyllis Summers has never officially signed Chancellor over to him. The paperwork isn't finalized. The transfer isn't real. And without it, Billy has nothing to offer. Victor. The realization lands like a thunderclap. If Phyllis refuses to cooperate, the plan collapses before it even begins. Diane's worry deepens as a new fear rises to the surface. Will Phyllis actually help when it matters most, or will her own ambitions stand in the way? Phyllis faces a heartbreaking choice. Meanwhile, across town, Phyllis is dealing with a crisis of her own, one that strikes at the center of her heart. She meets once again with her son, Daniel Romalotti Jr. Their relationship has been strained for far too long, weighed down by betrayal, disappointment, and the consequences of Phyllis's relentless pursuit of power. But now, Daniel offers something she desperately wants. A possibility, a fragile chance at forgiveness. Yet it comes with a condition that could change everything. Daniel admits he might be willing to forgive her, but only if Phyllis proves she's truly ready to walk away from the Newman Empire. The words hit her like a blow. Because for Phyllis, power and influence have always been more than business. They're part of who she is. Earlier, Kane Ashby had already tried to manipulate the situation. Kane told Phyllis that if he could convince Daniel to forgive her, then she would need to play along with his plan. That plan involved a dangerous bargain. They would promise to give Chancellor back to Victor as the first step in a deal, claiming the rest of Newman Enterprises would follow once Victor's family was safe. But Kane never intended to honor the agreement. In the end, they would betray Victor and keep the power for themselves. It was a risky scheme built on deception. But as Phyllis stands face to face with Daniel, she realizes something important. This isn't the deal she imagined. She wanted both things, her children's love and the power she fought so hard to gain. But Daniel isn't leaving room for both. His voice carries quiet determination as he makes it painfully clear. She has to choose. Her family or the empire. The moment hangs heavy between them. Because no matter what she decides, something important will be lost. A new conspiracy forms elsewhere. Another dangerous alliance is quietly taking shape. Holden Novak meets once again with Audra Charles. Holden, mind is already spinning with possibilities. He believes their ambitions align perfectly. They both want the same outcome. The complete and permanent destruction of the relationship between Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman. And Holden thinks the solution is simple. Team up. Work together. Sabotage the couple from the inside until their bond finally shatters. He offers Audra another chance to join him as his partner in the scheme. A sabotage partner. Someone who understands that sometimes the fastest way to get what you want is to tear someone else down. But whether Audra will accept that invitation remains to be seen. Because in Genoa City, alliances can be just as dangerous as enemies. Trouble brewing across Genoa City. As night begins to fall, the tension across the city grows thicker with every passing moment. Jack remains trapped on a yacht in the middle of nowhere. Diane is racing against time, desperate to save the man she loves. Billy is stuck in a deal that might not even exist. Phyllis faces an impossible choice between power and family. And behind the scenes, new conspiracies are forming. quietly, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In Genoa City, secrets never stay buried for long, and when these plans begin to collide, the consequences will be impossible to stop. One thing is certain. Several residents of Genoa City are about to stir up trouble in ways no one will see coming, and the fallout could change everything. The storm brewing over Genoa City is far from over. As the night deepens and tensions tighten like a coiled spring, the consequences of every decision, every betrayal, every desperate gamble begin moving toward a collision no one can stop. And at the center of it all, one man remains trapped between survival and revenge. Jack's desperate fight for control. Out on the dark, restless water, the silence surrounding Jack Abbott begins to feel suffocating. The yacht rocks gently with the rhythm of the ocean, but inside, Jack's thoughts are anything but calm. His mind races through every possibility, every enemy who might have orchestrated something this extreme. But again and again, the same name surfaces. Victor Newman. For decades, their rivalry has been one of power, pride, and personal vendettas. Each man has struck blows against the other. But this is something darker. Kidnapping. Isolation. Psychological warfare. Jack clenches his jaw as the realization settles in. If Victor is truly behind this, then this isn't just another business maneuver. It quotes a declaration of war. And somewhere deep down, Jack knows Victor well enough to understand something else. Victor never makes a move unless it serves a much larger plan. Which means Jack's captivity might only be the beginning. Diane refuses to wait. Back in Genoa City, anxiety is turning into raw desperation for Diane Jenkins Abbott. Every unanswered phone call. Every dead end. Every minute without news about Jack feels like a ticking clock, counting down toward disaster. She refuses to sit still any longer. Standing firm, Diane pushes Billy Abbott harder than ever. If Victor wants power, then give him what he wants. Give him Chancellor. To Diane, the choice is painfully simple. A company can be rebuilt, power can be regained. But if Jack's life is at risk, nothing else matters. The urgency in her voice is impossible to ignore. Yet Billy knows the situation isn't that simple. When he finally admits the truth that Phyllis Summers never officially signed Chancellor over to him, the room falls into a heavy silence. Even Kyle Abbott feels the weight of the revelation. Everything they were counting on might fall apart because of one person's decision. And that person is Phyllis. Now the question hanging in the air is almost unbearable. Will Phyllis help save Jack, or will her thirst for power push her to refuse? Phyllis confronts the cost of power across town. Phyllis sits across from her son Daniel Romalotti Jr. in a moment that feels both hopeful and heartbreaking. For so long, their relationship has been fractured, damaged by choices Phyllis made while chasing influence, leverage, and control. But tonight, Daniel's tone is different. There's less anger in his voice. Less bitterness. Instead, there's something fragile, something that almost sounds like forgiveness. Daniel admits he's starting to consider letting go of the past. Starting fresh. But the possibility comes with a condition that stops Phyllis cold. If she truly wants her son back in her life, she has to prove it. She has to walk away from the Newman empire. The words hang in the air like a challenge, because Phyllis has spent years clawing her way toward power, battling enemies, and sacrificing everything to stand among the most influential players in Genoa City. To abandon that now would mean letting go of the very thing she fought so hard to obtain. Yet as she looks at Daniel, she realizes the painful truth. This isn't about business anymore. This is about family. And Daniel isn't willing to share his mother with the empire that nearly destroyed them. Phyllis had imagined finding a way to balance both worlds, her children and her power. But Daniel's ultimatum makes one thing painfully clear. There is no balance. There is only a choice. Kane. Quote, dangerous strategy. Behind the scenes, Kane Ashby continues pushing forward with a risky strategy of his own. Earlier, Cain had convinced Phyllis that if Daniel forgave her, she would need to cooperate with his plan. Cain. The scheme was simple in theory but incredibly dangerous in execution. They would approach Victor with an offer. Return Chancellor to him as a sign of good faith. Promise that the rest of Newman Enterprises would follow once his family was safe. But Cain never intended to honor the deal. His true plan was deception. Once Victor believed the agreement was secure, Cain and Phyllis would turn the tables, breaking the deal and holding on to the power they gained. It was a gamble built entirely on manipulation. But now, as Daniel forces Phyllis to confront what truly matters, Cain's entire strategy hangs by a thread. Because if Phyllis chooses family over power, the plan collapses instantly. A new plot begins to form. While these emotional battles unfold, another scheme quietly begins taking shape. In a more private corner of Genoa City, Holden Novak meets once again with Audra Charles. Holden, quote, intentions are crystal clear. He believes the two of them have the same ultimate goal, to destroy the relationship between Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman once and for all. And Holden is convinced that together they can make it happen. He leans in with quiet confidence, offering Audra another opportunity. Join him. Work together. Sabotage the couple until their relationship finally collapses under the pressure. Holden sees Audra as the perfect partner for the job, a strategist who understands that sometimes the fastest path to victory is through destruction. But Audra remains unreadable. Because in Genoa City, alliances are rarely simple. And trusting the wrong partner can be just as dangerous as facing an enemy. The calm before the explosion, across the city, every storyline is inching closer to a breaking point. Jack remains stranded and vulnerable on a yacht somewhere far from help. Diane refuses to stop fighting to bring him home. Billy Quote's plan to save Jack may depend entirely on Phyllis. Phyllis stands at a crossroads between power and family. Cain's elaborate scheme threatens to unravel, and Holden is quietly building a new conspiracy that could shatter another relationship. The pieces are all in motion. The tension is rising, and in Genoa City, when this many secrets, betrayals, and ambitions collide, the explosion is never far behind. Because on The Young and the Restless, trouble isn't just coming,